Kia ora and welcome everyone. My name is David Sinfield and I teach communication design and graphic design at Auckland University of Technology here in New Zealand. I'm very interested in mobile technology and how I use it in my research and indeed how I introduce it into the learning curriculum as well. Today, what I'm going to be talking about is how I use mobile technology in the field with a particular focus on a research project that I have worked on with a colleague at AUT, and that was looking at beach cuffs and the documentation of beach cuffs. Here's my email at the bottom in case you need to contact me, anything afterwards you need to know, any questions or anything that's come up from my presentation. And also here is a Vimeo link to some of the examples that I will be talking about, and there will be further examples of that as we go along the presentation. So today's presentation is going to focus on one of my research field trips, and as I said, that is documenting beach cuffs and how I document these. And how I collaborate on this research project as well. So I was brought into this project because they wanted the beach cuffs to be documented, and I had certain technologies to do that, such as drones and GoPros and so on. So that's what my position was in this research project. I'm not an expert by any shape or form when it comes to beach cuffs. It was purely, as I said, it was purely there as a means of documenting this. And there's going to be some interesting examples that have come up from this, how the technology has actually added to the discovery of new technology as well, which I will also talk about later on. So originally focused on this specific study of documenting the phenomena of beach cuffs, this presentation will focus on how I use the technology in the field and research purposes with an example of a collaboration project for capturing the beach cuffs. So as an artist and a designer, I use digital technology within the environment for capturing and recording digital content. It will focus on the creation of the artistic works that I've created and explore the digital environment. And these have been collaboration with scientists, and the outcome from this will be in the form of a poem film, which I can show you later, and indeed have links to. This is a picture of the technology, the mobile technology that I use. So I use a couple of drones. I use a Spark drone there. That's quite a small drone, and a larger drone which is can shoot in slow motion and in 4K as well. So they're used for different purposes. The drone 1 is more for capturing data, and the drone 2 is more high end for filmic use really, and for really capturing sharp detail. Next to that is the controller, and I've got quite a few spare batteries as well. I use GoPro cameras. I'm going to show you some examples of how I've used that in this field as well. There's a mini tripod. There's what we call a Zoom mic. Zoom is the make, but these are incredibly high-end recording devices that capture really sharp audio. Next to that is a mobile phone stabilizer. I also use my iPhone 13 Pro quite a lot in the field as well, and even though it's got stabilization built in, I also use an external stabilizer, which is a lot better and more stable. So this is, in essence, the technology I use, which fits in a small bag. It fits in a either, if I'm on a kayak, a small waterproof bag, or indeed on a backpack, so I can be quite agile in the field. So basically, it all started somewhere off the coast of Auckland one summer when we was out kayaking. This was on a remote location which is only accessible by kayak, and as you can see, not a soul around. And this was really helpful because we was there all day filming, and we didn't want to be obviously disturbed by people coming along and swimming and so on. And when we was on this beach, my colleague John says to me, he says, what do you know about beach cuffs, Dave? And my reply is, well, what are beach cuffs? I knew absolutely nothing about them. So we picked up a stick and drew in the sand this diagram, which I've just emulated with a marker. So basically, it shows the two horns, the embayment, and the sea coming in. So that's how beach cuffs are formed. Beach cuffs are one of the strangest natural formations along the water's edge, and they are made up of a rhythmic pattern of small cuffs and bays, and the cuffs are pointed horns, which is shown here, and as you can see, the embayment are those arcs in between. And obviously, in a lot of cases, it's pebble and different types of sediment which go to make up these. And the horns are made up of coarser material, and the embayment contains finer sediment. These can be found all over the world, but they're quite difficult to find, and they're totally unpredictable. You may see them on one beach one time, and then you'll never see them again. So the moving tides, the moving sediment, it really depicts and dictates how these phenomena are actually formed. So the REACH project and the documentation of these beach cuffs and energy patterns. So how do I document them? What do I go about doing, and how do I get to my final result? So the next slide is going to show you one of my experiments. Experimentation 1 was using GoPro filming in the field, and it was a GoPro setup from, and I'm going to show you some film footage and some time lapse. So I set up 3 cameras. Camera 1 was on an aluminium pole, which was quite close to the waves, and that was about 500 mil high. And one further back, camera 2, was about 1.2 millimeters high, and there was a third camera. The third camera was taking real-time footage, and GoPro 1 and GoPro 2, they were primarily there for time-lapse footage. So wanted to try and capture what it would look like in real time, and also through a time lapse to see what it would look like and see if we could actually capture the data. So as you can imagine, having a beach where no one could get to is an absolute benefit in this case, because if we had loads of people there and we had these cameras out, that would interfere with the filming, which wouldn't be a particularly good result. So this is taken from the drone where the cameras are. So I'm trying to see if I can document the cuffs forming. You can just about see them forming. That's one of the GoPro cameras just there. So as I move along the beach, you can start to see the formation of the cuffs through this drone, but it's not great, to be honest. But this was just an initial experiment. So the time-lapse footage from the GoPro camera 1, I'm just about to show you here. So let's have a look at that. So again, even though it's quite dramatic footage, especially the sky, it doesn't really show as much about the formation of the beach cuffs, although it does show you some sediment being moved up. Those rocks are quite interesting, the way they are actually poured up the beach there. So you can see some sediment just back there, and it's disappeared once more. So that kind of documents the movement of the sediment, but it doesn't actually show the formation in as far as the waves are concerned. So the conclusion to this experiment was, although the footage was quite interesting and showed evidence of the sediment deposits, it didn't show the formation of the cusps, or indeed the energy waves that they create. So we really needed a different approach here. So I think it's time to have a look at experiment 2. So this is another time, and this is going to be showing you some drone footage, and that's we're looking at my kayak there. So as the GoPro is hovering, directly goes up to a height. This wasn't particularly a big height. I did go a lot higher than this later on, but this is just to show you what I wanted to try and achieve next. I mean, the beauty with the drones is that they are incredibly stable. It was quite a beautiful day that was as well. So this might be a better approach. So this is just some raw footage. The drone is a bit high now. This actually shot in real time, even though it gives that kind of feel of it being in slow motion. It isn't. It's actually, because it's quite high. Now we can start to see the formation of the cusps. So the beauty of the drones is that we can take it to quite a high altitude and film directly downwards, and you can leave the go. We can film for a battery life for one flight will be about 35, 37 minutes, I think. As long as you're not flying too high and hovering, you can get a little bit more energy out of a battery. So we're on to something now. So you can now start to see how the successful filming using these small drones can really be beneficial. So the conclusion to experiment 2 seems a bit of a better approach. So what I did next, I did some experimentations in the field. I just got my laptop out, and I did some quick colour grading under the tree to see what the footage was going to look like. And what I would then do is bring that back to the studio later on and then do some proper colour gradings. But I like to do some experiments in the field as well, just in case if it wasn't working, then I know I need to take some more footage. So this is quite interesting. So what I'm showing you here is this is the original footage taken, and that's what it would look like on the day. So I wanted to make it more dramatic. So I then started to look at the colour grading. So I've gone to this artistic colour graded to enhance some of the footage. And something really interesting happens here. See, I'm just zooming in here. There's these wave patterns kind of moving back. And to make it clear, I just put it in black and white and enhance the contrast. And you can see these patterns moving back. This is really interesting, and it was totally unexpected. So due to the changing of the colour, it then revealed all this different information which hasn't been seen before. So that's very, very, very interesting. So the conclusion to that is is there an agency from an artistic works to aid in the scientific discovery of any energy patterns from from beach cusps? And there's a link there to that shot. So I'm looking for several things here. I'm looking for how can we make this, from my perspective, how can I make this into a more kind of an artistic approach, yet still aid in the scientific discovery and indeed the documenting of beach cusps. So by colour grading it does two things. It enhances the moving image to something which is more poetic and artistic, and in doing so it also makes it reveal some of the data that wasn't seen before. Because if I hadn't have played with the contrast and the grading and changed the colour, we wouldn't have seen all the details coming out. And we can see in here on this still shot the energy patterns kind of moving backwards. So we can see those patterns moving back here through this contrast. And again, using the drone, you will get this superb footage which we wouldn't have been able to get before. And this is a really clear shot. So by enhancing the colours and making it darker, when the waves retrieve back, it almost looks like it's leaving a mark in black. Here are the horns, here's the embayment, and here is quite clear. Up here on the top left, you can see those energy patterns moving back. And as I said, if this was just in a standard form, we wouldn't see that. So from an artistic perspective, this is really quite emotionally poetic, if you like, what the piece that I'm trying to achieve. Bear in mind, these are still experiments at this stage, and I can show you the final thing later. So that led on to this research question: how can an artist aid in the discovery of new scientific analysis? So as I said, seen through a poetic moving image piece, this creative visualization and scientific study of water wave energy patterns and the formation of beach cuffs has shaped an artistic observation of these energy patterns created by their movement. So I'm looking at the movement and how I can actually create something beautiful and poetic from that. So it's not just from a scientific perspective, which I was originally asked to do. So it also asks quite an interesting question: how can art aid in the discovery? How can an artist collaborate with a scientist, and how can the two play off against each other and get some agency from each other as well? So where art meets science is quite a big question, and this is an artistic. So this is quite long. I'm going to show you part of this. So this is one of my questions. So I've taken some of the footage and I've played around with it. I've started it off in black and white, which will then go into the color grade as well. So at this stage, I'm not just looking at what is a scientific study of beach cuffs. This is an artistic response to the footage that I filmed. So we can now see the subtle changes in the colour come through. So let's cut it there. So here is a QR code if you want to take a copy of that, which will send you to the link which you've just seen there. So you can have a look at it in your own time. So moving on to phase 2. So this was quite interesting. So it then gave me an idea of how can I translate this filmed footage into the more of a digital arena, more of a kind of virtual arena, if you like. How can I recapture those energies and the movement, but in the digital format? So this was one of my experiments that I was playing with after that. So that was a short poem film that I created from that research. So it was taking, as I said, all the film footage and taking the emotions and the poetic and bringing it inside of the digital environment and getting inspiration from those energy patterns and the movements of the waves. Here is the QR code for that piece, if you would like to take a copy of that. I mean, no doubt this presentation would be recorded anyway, so no doubt you can revisit it and look at these QR codes and works later. So, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.